Hi, I'm Steve Garrett. I'm the founder of Feminism, and I am passionate about equality. Equality between all people, but especially right now, equality between men and women. This is not the same as sameness, vive la différence, very much so as far as I'm concerned. But it's about equal rights for respect and for our freedom to be our true selves. Because I believe that in a world of equality, not only will women be happier, but we men will be much happier too. We can't get away from the fact that we live in a misogynistic world. You just have to look around you. I mean, from the extremes of women who are not allowed to go to school and have to wear burqas, and whether you're looking at FGM or the status of women in many parts of the world is incredibly low. It seems as if, as a society, as a species, a lot of men just don't like women very much, and not only don't like them, but seem to be only comfortable if they're somehow kept down in some kind of subservient position. I'm just observing what I see. Now, like in the West, we've had feminism, we've had emancipation, we have legal equality, discrimination is against the law. This is really good stuff. Makes me, pleased and proud to be living in this part of the world. But I feel that underneath that, we men still have, and I can, if I look into myself, I can recognize it still in myself, a kind of very ambivalent feelings about women. That at some level, we perhaps idolize women. At some level we resent women because actually women have access to a range of emotions and feelings that we would like to have in ourselves, but throughout our history and because of our culture and because of our early need to be more aggressive as a part of our survival, we don't seem to have that same access to our feelings. We're not as comfortable in relationships with each other as men. There's a sort of closed down area inside ourselves. And also I think that there's a level of fear that we have about women, which is very difficult for a man ever to admit to, because it seems like a contradiction. We're the ones with all the power. Why would we be afraid of women? We're physically stronger. But if I try to understand where male aggression and violence in particular comes from, the only thing that makes sense to me is that it's rooted in fear. I think we only get violent when we're backed against a wall, when we don't feel empowered. To have power, to have strength, one never needs to be violent. Violence comes from a place of actually being on the defensive. So this is a real paradox. We, the supposedly stronger ones or more powerful ones, in many ways I think have been on the defensive. Particularly now when the traditional male roles of having a job, being the breadwinner, coming home, being the king of the castle, all those roles are really, really changing for a lot of men, because many of those comforting roles are no longer there for us. Meanwhile, women have been becoming more self-confident, basically doing better in the workplaces, doing better at school. It's a pretty tough situation for men to have to handle. And one of the other strong reasons, I think, for this possible deep-seated fear we have around women is, I think, if we go right back to our early history as men, that it was right for us to be afraid of nature. Because when we were living in the caves, nature was basically out to eat us. Nature was a very dangerous place, and it still is in many parts of the world. So we associate the natural nature with, still in our kind of genetic memory, with danger. And I think that women, with their much stronger connection to nature, of having, monthly cycles, giving birth, women to us are much closer to the natural world in the sense of being able to reproduce. And in some way there's been a bit of a crossover that has meant that we feel that women have this sort of power, this link to nature, something that we're instinctively programmed since our early evolution to want to control. And that we're now at a point in our evolution where the world is no longer dangerous, nature isn't dangerous, women aren't dangerous, but men are still dangerous, because we're still running on this old program of thinking, or feeling even, maybe at some subconscious level, that we have to be on guard, that we have to protect ourselves. And what I'm hoping for, and there's definitely plenty of it going on right now. I think there's a men's movement going on around the world where we're realizing, look, actually, we're losing out here. Men who want to demean, diminish, and control women are missing out on a whole part of life because they're demeaning and diminishing the creative and the feminine in themselves, which we all have. As Jung said, we've all got a male and female nature. But also they're missing the pleasure of having a relationship with a fully evolved, emancipated, but very different, deliciously different human being. It's a lose-lose situation. So if we could understand maybe where these attitudes come from, and if men and women could speak to each other more openly, be willing to admit to our fears perhaps more openly, we could start to let go of them and start to develop a kind of society where we are not only comfortable with women when they're in some sort of safe, subservient sort of role, which demeans both of us, to be honest, but where men and women can just work together, have relationships together, and have fun together as equals.